Hey everybody, welcome back. Welcome back. It is Wednesday night at 8 p.m. It's the Relationship Gumbo Podcast. And last week, y'all showed up and showed out. That 100th episode, y'all really did the thing. And y'all made me proud and happy to know you guys. So what I want you to do first is make sure you share and invite. Make sure you go to that YouTube page, like, subscribe, click the bell, do all that stuff. Make sure that you connect with me because we have some exciting things coming up. Next week's going to be a little bit of a surprise, so you want to make sure you there. You'll see the flyers come up, but it's going to be a great show next week. So I'll keep tight-lipped about that. But make sure you share and invite. Make sure that you notify your neighbor, your friend, your cousin, your grandma, everybody. Make sure they get on here, right? So what I want you to do first is give me about 30 seconds. I want to make sure everything is populating where it needs to go. Make sure everything's good. Then on the other side of that, we're going to start the actual podcast. So stand by.
Okay, everybody wants good love, that's true, I know. Derek Jones about to break it down with the relationship gumbo. Welcome to the podcast. Ain't no doubt we all need this, ayy, cause better relationships need better ingredients, ayy. So if you want better relations, it's about communication, finding love, staying together. We all wanna make it better, yeah. Derek Jones the host, your relationship coach. Thank you all for tuning in. Relationship gumbo, ayy.
All right, we are back. Make sure you do what that thing down below me says. Click that bell, click subscribe, YouTube, and make sure that you do that because I really want to grow that channel. I want to give you more value, and make sure you like the videos as well. Now we have 100. This is episode 101. So you got 100 episodes so far that you can go back and pick and choose where you find the most value, or you can do, as some people have done, and start from episode 1 and just binge all of them over time because you're going to get some value out of them. And I got some exciting things coming. That's all I'm going to say right now. I'm working in the background. So this also is an audio podcast. So it'll be uploaded to Apple Podcast, Spotify, basically everywhere. iHeartRadio, Pandora, Amazon Music. It's literally everywhere. So anywhere that you can get a podcast, go ahead and get that. My name is Derek Jones. And what we're going to do now, if you're new to the show, is what I'm going to do is I'm going to pause for 3 seconds. Then I'm going to start the actual podcast. And then on the other end of the podcast, I'm going to pause for another 3 seconds to make sure that we have places where we can chop it off. So the audio is amazing for you for when you listen to it in your car or when you're at home chilling one day and you just want to get an episode or two in. So without further ado, give me those 3 seconds and we are going to get started. So stand by. And welcome to another episode of the Relationship Gumbo Podcast. My name is Derek Jones and I am your host. I'm a certified life coach, certified relationship coach, strategist, engineer, and a mental health advocate. And tonight's show, it is not going to be long, but it's going to be impactful. I do want to give you a disclaimer. I am not a therapist. I am not a doctor. I'm a life and relationship coach. And tonight, it's not about diagnosing things. It's just things to make you say, things to make you listen, pay attention, and maybe spark you to go and look deeper into your life. Look deeper into how you are parenting or have parented your children. So this is not a diagnosis show. This is just me. I'm a regular guy out here that I just see some things and I've done a little bit of research. So I wanted to put that out there. So, just to make sure I cover myself. So tonight's episode, the title, are we raising the very people that we have grown to despise? So you got to let that marinate for a couple minutes. Because some people, they get it immediately. Other people, they're like, what are you talking about? So we have to think about it in context like this. When you're grown up, right, you get into relationships, you get out of relationships, you deal with some hurt, some pain sometimes, and then you start to develop kind of notions about certain types of people. You know, people that have narcissistic traits, people that cheat, people that, you know, they abuse you emotionally, verbally, physically, all these different things. And we learn to despise these people. We don't even want no parts of that. We know what that pain feels like. Yuck. We don't want to be around them, right? And what ends up happening when we become parents is we indirectly sometimes are the origin story for those people that we have come to despise in our adult lives. So the way that I'm going to frame this out is we're going to start from when you're a little baby. Aww. Right? You had the little baby, the baby's born, everybody's happy. Y'all speaking this language right here. You know, you got the little wank wank going on, right? And sometimes you still hear that noise when they 45, right? But that's a whole nother story. So this is what happens when that baby is born. And I've had shows about attachment styles and attachment theory. So some of the stuff is loosely based on that, but not directly. I always try to give you another layer, peel a layer to the onion, right? So babies, when they're born, they want love. They are looking for attachment. All of us do. I talk about this quite a bit on my show. Even us grown folks, as hard as we are, there's still that little piece of us that wants to be attached. Right? And babies start out that way innocently. And sometimes the way that we parent them destroys that. Not only destroys the baby attaching to you, the parent, but it destroys the way that they will attach to people for the rest of their lives if they don't identify that this may or may not be an issue for them. And so this made me think about, what made me think about doing this show, guys, is I saw a video, and I was going to put it up here, but I'm going to speak to it so that you guys can have more context, right? I saw this video, this little, I feel like the baby had to be, well, now, I guess it was like a toddler, maybe, like about 2 or 3. And the baby was sitting at the table sitting in the mother's lap, and they were sitting across the table from what I perceived to be maybe a psychologist or a therapist. And the little toddler was playing with little stuff that the therapist was giving them, right? And they was happy, smiling, playing with the stuff. Then the therapist would take it back, then give it back to him, and the little kid starts playing with the stuff, right? Then they had another stranger come in. And as the therapist was fiddling with the stuff, the person came in and said, "That's very annoying. Why are you doing that? Stop doing that. It's annoying me." And you could see the little baby start to look at this person like they could almost sense the negativity and the negative in the tone, right? And so when the person who was yelling left, the therapist tried to give the kid the toy back, and the kid didn't want the toy because the kid did not want to play with the toy and disrupt the environment again. So the kid inadvertently is training itself or himself to mute how he feels in order to placate the environment or the parent so that they don't have to feel the negativity. And I looked at that and I was like, that's just one instance. What if they had 2,000? What would that kid become over time? Right? Because we always talk about energy on this show, right? And how the negative energy affects us and how we deal with people and protect my peace and protect my energy. Your little innocent kid knew that if they played with that toy, that there was a possibility that that negativity would come back, even when the person wasn't even present anymore. The baby looked around at the parent, looked at the therapist, and was like, I I don't know if I should or shouldn't now. So the even at that age, that kid is learning how to not be present, how to not show how he feels because of the fear of the negative environment. I need for y'all to let it sizzle just a minute, because we don't realize, and we talk about Derek love the kids. We talk about kids on the show a lot. It's a lot. If you think about the tone in your household, the arguments that you think they can't hear, those moments when you say, they'll be all right, they'll get over it, they're going to grow out of it. That kid's emotion is what number on your priority list? He's a boy, he'll get over it, he's tough. So now, let's pivot. These people that we don't like, we hate them. Damn narcissists, emotionally unavailable man. I don't want one of them. I don't want this promiscuous chick, this hoe, this thought. I don't want no parts of that. I'm pausing for it. I need for y'all to let it marinate. We don't want these people. We've been down that road. Feels like crap. They're controlling me. Don't like the way it feels. We about to peel some onion back. I'm prepping y'all right now. If you're triggered by this, it's not for you to be judged. It's for you to understand that a lot of this stuff that we see out here that we hate comes from a place. And for you new people that are on here, disclaimer is, I am not a therapist or a doctor. I'm just giving you some things to think about. Okay? So I'm about to go into some territory here where a lot of times we as adults don't realize what we're doing because we're surviving. We don't know where the next meal gonna come from. We live in check to check. We hope that kid is functional in the bedroom with the iPad all night because we got to work on some other stuff. We don't realize because we inadvertently, as a parent, prioritize ourselves and our emotions way above that little kid that's looking to you for guidance. So we're going to pause for like 2 seconds. I need for y'all to hear me. So a lot of times, and I'm going to go, I purposely wrote some notes because I know this is like a sensitive topic, because y'all know I normally just go, but I wrote some notes. The first thing that I want to touch on, and it can apply to men and women who are parents, is this term that sounds yucky, but it applies to a lot of people, especially in this environment where there are tons of single parent households, a lot of households where the man has chosen not to be there and the woman has taken the world on her back. And there are some men that are out there that are single fathers, so I don't want to omit them, but there's a lot of single mothers out there. It's a very, very high rate, right? A lot of single parents in general. And there's this term called emotional incest. And I don't want to give you information like I'm trying to be like a college professor or anything like that. I just want to give you the raw, how I feel it affects us. And a term that kind of was tangential to this, but it follows into this emotional incest topic, is called unboundaried bonding. I'm going to say it again. Unboundaried bonding. So it's when you create a bond with your kid that has no boundaries. So your kid is now responsible for all of your emotional troubles. Your kid is now being treated like your significant other. You know, a lot of these parents, when their kids are like toddlers and like they're in the elementary school, and they behave just like they're like their BFF, their best friend, because they want their kid to like them. And when they're crying, that kid has to be there to console them. Y'all know these people. Emotional incest, no boundaries between parent and child. That child will grow up and not understand what that really means. And I'm going to read a couple comments before I move on. Dope Discussions with Erica podcast says, just something as simple as telling a 2-year-old you're asking too many questions will stunt their curiosity. Yeah. It hindsight is 2020, because I know a lot of you guys are not 20 years old. Your kids are probably grown or teenagers or whatever, right? We don't think about these things while we're going through life. So this isn't a judgment show. This is an understanding show, because we now, with new information, can pass it on to our kids and they can pass it on to their kids. Emotional incest is real, especially when there's a significant other or an ex-significant other, but the co-parent of the child, if you will, that's not there in the emotional strain. If it's a traumatic breakup, that kid now has to, a lot of people make that kid feel that void. And it's not fair to a kid who doesn't even understand all of this stuff you're going through. It's the same principle of, you know, when we argue really loud voices and the kid is in the next room. Remember I said at the top of the show, the kid just wants to be loved and attached to you. So the question is, what are they attaching to? Remember, I just talked about the little kid that did not want to be a part of that negative, the yelling. So he modified his behavior in real time to avoid it. I need y'all to hear me. Modifying your behavior in real time to avoid the conflict. Either you've been this or somebody you've been with have been this person. This is where it starts. I'm gonna read this comment before a lot of them scroll. Dope Discussion with Erica says, I recently saw an example of this. Ace Hood was having a conversation with his mom, and she said that she felt like his wife took her place in his life. I was like, no, ma'am. Yes, Ace Hood. If you guys search for Ace Hood, it's I believe it was a show or something, and he was on there with his mom, and she really was like, your wife took my place. So this is like, and she's pissed about it, and tries to sabotage their relationship because she wants him back to assume the role of her man. I know you guys know people like this. Triumphant TV says, what did you call the boundaries again? Unboundaried bonding. And when you don't have a boundary between parent and child, that kid is confused. That's why we always say as parent, and I'm accused, I say it all the time too, I ain't one of your little friends. How many people ever said that? I ain't one of your little friends. That's not how this works. And Ace Hood had to check his mom on that. It's like, this is my wife. I'm happy over here. Mama going through it. Right? And a lot of times you'll find a lot of what you would call like mama's boys, because that emotional bond that they have is so tight that nothing comes before that, not even a spouse. right? Mama's boys. This is something a lot of women are like, oh my God, I don't want another one of those, because the mom comes before everything. And we talk about on the Real Shop Talk show about, how men have this, especially black men, have this relationship with their mom. It's just like, it may not be emotional incest by definition, but it's still something that, where that mom is put into a category where no other human being can exist but her. So we're gonna move on to even more information, because your boy keeps his ear to the internet streets. Erica, dope discussion with Erica says, my thought is that a wife doesn't take the place of a mother. Those are two totally different roles. Mom was out of pocket. Absolutely. Absolutely. TK's Chronicle of a Black Sheep podcast says that was good. She was so hurt because she doesn't get what she was receiving, because she wasn't getting what she was receiving before. Yeah. And TK Chronicles of a Black Sheep says, I refuse to date a mama's boy. So by the context I'm giving, if you meet a man that's a mama's boy, there's got to be a mama who created that. That's why I'm doing this show, because we want to try to bring this new information into our family structures so that we understand what it does to that kid that then becomes an adult. Because you hurt, male or female, because that person left you and now that kid has to fill that space in. And a lot of times, and I'm going to speak to this in a minute, when you do that, you stunt that person's growth, because they don't know how to exist out here in the world without you being there to handle all of their emotions. I need y'all to catch that. So I'm going to move into another section here, because I find this stuff online, and I compile it in a way for you guys so that you can digest it. So the next section that I want to go into, I found, you remember one of the last few shows I brought in the toxic love languages and how that's a little, skewed from the traditional love languages that we know. So tonight we're going to talk about love styles. Love styles. And this is how people show up in relationships and how these behaviors could possibly come from things that they dealt with as a child. So the first love style is called the avoider, right? And these are loosely attributed to attachment styles. And if you go back in the archives, I have a whole show on attachment styles. And if you want to Google attachment styles, feel free. It will change your life. When you really understand your specific type of attachment style, then it'll help you understand yourself better. It's life-changing for a lot of people that I've talked to that have researched it after listening to my show. Because understanding yourself better helps you show up in relationships better, because that person has the ability to love you better because you understand how to show them how you like to be loved. Okay? So, the avoider. This is a person that is very distant. They very rarely show their feelings. They're uncomfortable with emotion. Y'all know these people, right? And a lot of times, these people come from homes where their parents did not show affection. There was an emphasis on you being independent and don't need anybody to help you. So you develop an ability to not connect with people emotionally, because you got to do it by yourself. You don't have the attention and the affection. So when you get it, it's like, whoa, hold on. I'm not ready for that. You want me to be emotional? I don't know how. And a lot of times people won't tell you that. You'll see the behavior, right? Ladies, I know you've seen a lot of men do this. And it's very common However, notice I said in a lot of these cases, there wasn't any kind of affection in the home. And to the point of the beginning of the show, the baby wants love and they want to be attached. You strip that of them when you take away the hugs and the affirmation of the kid and I love you and you're doing a fantastic job. You take all of that away, you're starting to break the attachment that kid is yearning for, and then that kid has to self-correct. Just like the little kid I told you about that I saw in the video. They now have to adapt to this environment. Key in on what I'm about to say. By themselves, a toddler, a 12-year-old has to learn how to adapt to this by themselves. Think about that. Without your help, because you didn't prioritize their emotions over your own. Catch it? So, this happens a lot. But like I always tell you guys, if we didn't have the information before, we have it now. Even if your kid is 30, send them this video. They have kids. You got grandkids. Watch them. We can change those generational curses by entering in the new information and implementing them. The next one, I'm going to pause and I'm going to go to the comments. Dope Discussion with Erica podcast says, ouch, why you telling my business? Yeah. This show's going to be real for a lot of people. And it's not, like I said again, I'm going to repeat, it's not to be judgmental of your parenting, but it's to understand that if you're an adult, right, and you out here dating, and you run into these controlling men all the time, and you run into these narcissists, and you run into these emotionally unavailable, these people the babies aren't born this way. It's created over time. So if you have a little kid that you're emotionally detached from, you're creating a possible narcissist one day, or a possible controlling person, or we're gonna talk about this. So you then become a part of the narrative without even realizing that you're creating a person that another woman down the line is going to hate one day. I need for y'all to breathe it in. Breathe it in. Let me get to a couple more comments and then we're going to go to the next one. TK's Chronicle of a Black Sheep podcast. My brother is a mama's boy. She didn't show us affection. He doesn't show any to his kids. Thankfully, my dad and grandmother was there for me. Yeah. Tashura says, is it generational curse or generational conditioning? Generational, I guess it depends, right? It could be both, right? Conditioning over time, like over generations, if that conditioning turns into something that looks toxic and it keeps repeating over multiple people, is it a curse too? Do we really want that? There's people out here, they have like 10 uncles and they all narcissists. And then their sons are too. Or have narcissistic traits. I'm learning how to talk about this better now. They're not diagnosed with it per se, but they have the same traits. So if it goes past generations and it begets negative, it then becomes a curse. That's my opinion. And the people that are getting on here that haven't been on here all night, I'm not a doctor or a therapist. These are just my, this is what I see. A few more comments. Dope Discussion with Erica says, I didn't get affection growing up, but I showed lots of affection to my boys when they were young. I noticed there was a certain age that I stopped being affectionate to them. Yeah. Hey, like when you aren't shown affection, Sometimes you can mimic that. Sometimes you can go to totally other direction because you're searching for it. And then when you have kids, you're like, well, I didn't get it, so I'm going to give them an overabundance of it just so they can understand that I do care about. Like, it happens. So TK's Chronicle of a Black Sheep podcast says, Derek, I'm laughing. I'm watching and my mom overheard some of this. Yeah, it stings a bit. Because you think about it like this. This is why I wanted to bring this. We go out in the world with this conditioning. And we want to be somebody's boyfriend or somebody's girlfriend. How do we show up? How do we show up? And how do we bond with people knowing that we don't even really know how to love or how to attach? But we know we want it. Remember, the little baby wants love. The big baby, 25, 35, is still in there. Still wants it. And we have to be mindful. Like, you can walk around and say, I'm screwed up. But knowing that you're screwed up, do you then just say, that's just how I am, and you give that right to your kid? Think about it. TK Chronicles of a Black Sheep podcast. People don't want to hear this, especially certain generations. Correction don't feel good to anybody. But we have to, there's nobody perfect here, but we have to start looking at the areas where we can possibly do better. Because those little babies and those little kids don't know anything when they're born. So, the next one is called, love style is called a vacillator. They go one way one day, they go another way another day. They kind of just, it's very unsure. A vacillator is indecisive. They idealize relationships. Hopeless romantic. They want the ideal man or the ideal woman. But then, because of that, a lot of times they commit too fast. Right? So the vacillating point of this is you commit too fast. You idealize, you get in a relationship based on hope. I hope it's going to be amazing. Oh my God. And you jump in. And when it pivots, is the vacillator. You know how I always talk about people who always look for red flags all the time, that they overlook the green, right? They notice some one little thing and they out. So all of that hope and all that perfection goes away. Because now you saw something that might lead somewhere that you don't want, and you gone. Don't know how to stay. And where this possibly could come from is you probably grew up with an unpredictable parent. And your needs, to the point of what I was saying before, as a kid, were not a priority. And so a lot of times what this looks like is you may have abandonment issues. You want a great relationship, but if something, little tiny thing don't look right, you out because you don't want to be left. Because you grew up with parents that never really showed you stability. And there's a lot of people out there that can't stay put because it's a scary place. I'm going to move on to the next one. Because this next one is going to be a trigger warning. So we talked about the avoider. We talked about the vacillator. Now we're going to talk about the controller. And this is where a lot of these narcissistic trait people live, male and female. They need to be in control in a relationship. They need to be in control. There's no other way. And the reason why someone would do this is to make sure that you limit the exposure to your fear and your insecurities that you have inside yourself. So you guys remember when I told you about my story and who I became after I was hurt. And the hurt came from me not being emotionally available in relationships and the hurt. And then I turned into someone who tried to create the narrative for anyone that I would meet so that they couldn't hurt me. I had to be in control. And people who have to be in control, they don't like hearing no. And when people like this, Triumphant TV says you've been pulling triggers all night talking about the next one. And Dope Discussion with Erica's podcast has a question. I'm gonna get to that in a minute. I'm gonna wrap this one up real quick though. A lot of people who are controllers, they use anger to express their emotions, especially when they don't get their way. Sounds like a little kid, right? I need you to catch that point. It sounds like a little kid having a temper tantrum. Think about that. That little kid that was crying for help, the growth got stunted at the point of the trauma. So even though he's 40 and controlling, underneath all of that, I need for y'all to catch that. Because who wants to go back and try to resolve their problems? We don't do that. So Dope Discussion with Erica says, what about you leave real early because in the past you stayed too long? Yeah, that's a defense mechanism. There's people that leave early all the time though, right? They don't have the boundaries and the discernment and none of that. But they want the relationship, right? But they're always going to find something wrong because they're afraid that person's going to leave them first. That's where the issue lies. They don't know how to attach because they were never shown. Remember, and keep bringing these points, that little baby wants to be attached. And it is our job to show them that we are people that they can be comfortable and trust and can be attached to. I have two more, and then we're going to get out of here. Tashura says, I'm not trigger shaming you. Hell, I'm triggered, Derek. Derek be trigger happy. She also says, I'm gonna start leaving early. I stay too long. That's my problem. Yeah. I got you coming up next. Or maybe in the next two. Who knows? So, the next one, number 4, love style. And I know a lot of us, I'm using the word us, identify with this next one. So we talked about the avoider, the vacillator, the controller, and now we're going to talk about the pleaser. And the pleaser enjoys and really gets a high off of making everybody else around them happy all the time. They monitor the moods around them and they try to fix it because they don't want that environment to feel negative. Fixers, pleasers, people pleasers. And they get anxious when when the environment it doesn't feel right. They want to fix it. They want to please. They want to your own detriment. And sometimes, because you want to please so much, you got to lie. Got to lie about how you feel about stuff. You got to lie to people to let them know you're all right when you're not, because you want them to be happy. And you worry about yourself last, if at all. In a lot of cases, not all, sometimes this comes from having parents that may or may not have been very overprotective, very critical of you, very angry when you don't do well. And so you go out of your way to please them because they put that pressure on you. And you become this person that always wants to please because you don't want to feel the negativity of you not being accepted. And you go through your life trying to avoid not feeling accepted. And sometimes you gotta lie just to function because you want to control the environment when you're in a relationship. Because a lot of times when we are with people, they can tell something ain't right. Thank you for all you're doing, but are you tired? Are you like you're doing a lot? No, I'm good. I just want to make sure you happy. Well, can I do something for you? Nope. You don't have to do nothing for me. I got it. I just want to make sure you good. Because we want to control that maybe one day that person might be mad at us. We want to make sure they don't have a reason to be. Because for a lot of people, they saw that anger when they were growing up when they didn't perform. Dope Discussions with Erica podcast says people pleaser teaches other people to put them second and then become resentful because nobody is reciprocating. Bingo. Isn't it funny how that works? I used to talk about this for years. How the person who's the giver sacrifices to the point where you have nothing left to give and then you're mad because no one sees you. No one appreciates you. And then guess what you do? You keep doing it. Who's winning? Who's getting served? It's not you. And what I had to do was I had to sit with myself. And a lot of people, you may want to sit with a therapist or counselor or a coach or even a family member and really figure out why. Why am I putting myself last? Why do I care so much about these people that aren't showing me that they care about me? It's almost like your own personal brand of torture. I need y'all to hear that. You're torturing yourself over and over and over again. Most of my life. So I'm going to move to the last one so we can get y'all back to y'all, it's past some of y'all bedtime. Y'all got some kids to go hug. So we talked about the avoider, the vacillator, the controller, the pleaser, and the last one here, trigger warning again, the victim. The victim has low self-worth about themselves. The victim is depressed often, has anxiety often when they're in relationships. And guess who the victims normally attract and who they gravitate towards? Controllers. I need for y'all to catch that. The person who's depressed often has anxiety, low self-esteem, low self-worth. They attract the controllers, the narcissistic tendencies, the people that want to tell you how it should be. Because you don't have the strength to fight for yourself. So you give deference to the controller. I want you to take care of me because I can't take care of myself. A lot of times people who are in this victim state, they grew up in very chaotic homes where they just had to be compliant in the home just to have their semblance of sanity. All of this stuff is going on. I don't know what stability looks like. So while there's a lot of chaos going on, I have to go over here and hide so that I can find peace for myself, hopefully. When you grow into an adult, you don't know how to be in a relationship, to love, to attach. Where would you get this information from? In Dope Discussions with Erica says a voluntary victim. We know people who use this as a tool for evil. But the bigger point here is, where did it come from? Not to fix that person, but to stop your grandkid from becoming that person. That's what this is about. Some of y'all too old to change. Even if somebody sat in your face and told you what to do, it's not going to happen. Think about them. If you're not at a point where you could think about yourself yet, because we all about self-improvement here. Get it in. Holla at your boy. But what about them? When you see your little 5-year-old grandkid or your 6-year-old kid, it's not a space where you be like, look at my little man. He the man of the house. Nah. That little kid has emotions. You supposed to be like, aww, that's my boy. That's my baby. Come here, give me a hug. Because they want to be attached innately. Your 40-year-old self wants to be attached. Your 50-year-old self wants to be attached. It doesn't go away. We're humans. It's how we're designed. So we have the opportunity to change the narrative. We have the information to change the narrative now. Are we creating these people that we've learned to despise over time? Do we have a part to play? My sister, my cousin, my auntie, are they creating a narcissist? Are they creating a mama's boy? Emotional incest? They got hurt and now that kid has to make sure you good, bringing you breakfast in bed every morning. Oh my God, got to make sure my mom don't cry no more. They not built for that. Let me read some of these comments. Mary Bell Martinez says, Harriet Tubman says she would have freed a lot more slaves if they knew they were slaves. Yeah, many of us don't know that we are victims. This is why these conversations are important. Yeah. I needed to really, like when I saw that video of the and if you're new here, I saw the video of the little kid that literally was sitting there playing with the toys. And when that person came in and was yelling, the kid didn't want to play with the toy anymore, and he knew that he had to correct his behavior so that he couldn't hopefully can control not experiencing that negativity anymore at age 2. We know at that young age that we don't like the way it feels. When we know nothing else about the world, we know we don't want to feel that way. And when you grow into an adult and somebody hurts you and you know you don't want to feel that way, and then you go home and you make your kid feel that way, and you don't make the connection. Think about it. I'm about to wrap this one up. Y'all know when y'all see me up here by myself, y'all gonna be thinking. I need for y'all to think. I need for you to really, like, we have to change the narrative of a lot of things that happen in our communities, and it starts with the person in the mirror. And don't think I done knew all of this. This is new information to me too. Like, I'm looking at myself. I'm looking at my 12-year-old. Like, am I doing her a disservice, or am I doing her a service by how I treat her? Like, we can all learn. And the other point I wanted to make too, and we talk about this a lot on the show too, is being present is not enough. Being present and emotionally unavailable is just as detrimental as you not being there at all. We don't realize it though, because we think we paying the bills. Got a roof over your head and I feed you. How many people don't say that to their kids? That should be enough for you. Be thankful that you got all this stuff. That's just being present. You're supposed to put a roof over their head. You're supposed to do that. But it's the other stuff. Because we think they're going to be all right. Heard a million times. The kid they going to be all right. They tough. They tough at age 3? It's generations that have led the charge this way. And those of you who have kids that are like grade school age, these kids are different. I know y'all know this. They're way more expressive, way more emotional. They're coming up in a different world. And we have to understand that each kid, whatever that little personality they're developing, you have to take that for face value and not assume that they're going to be just like you. They're different. They are different. And because they're different, I even had to learn myself. I couldn't punish the same way. I can't speak the same way that maybe I might have been talked to by family members or seen growing up in the 70s, 80s, 90s. These kids are different. But it's not different in a bad way. If I have an expressive kid, I gotta own that. I gotta say, keep doing that. Be yourself. I'm not going to make you be what I want you to be. I want you to be you. A lot of us have lived this life conforming to a narrative that was put in place for us as a kid, and we needed to go that route or else you was going to be a disappointment. So all of these creative juices and dreams that you have, muted. Because I want to please mom and dad, or mom or dad. I'll worry about me later. And now that you might be in your 30s and your 40s and you done worked the job for these, you've been working and doing, miserable as hell. Because it's not what you wanted to do. I know that's a little tangent. But it starts when you're little. We can do better. Because everybody ain't built to be a doctor and a lawyer and all this other stuff. We know these things now. Everybody ain't meant to go to college. Gotta listen to them. They'll tell you exactly what they want. So, I'm going to read some comments, and then we're going to wrap it up, guys. I appreciate you guys for commenting. Queen Cole says we must change the narrative. If I miss your comment, it's not on purpose. I just, y'all typing those dissertations on here. TK's Chronicles of a Podcast says I've had to change my parenting style from how I was raised. Me too. It was mind-boggling to me, but I was just like, I can't do the same things because it was a point where I saw it in her eyes. And it wasn't like I'm being punished for the thing that I did. My dad doesn't like me. That's why he's coming at me. And I was like, how can you did the thing? And it was like, they different. So I had to switch it up because I was like, I don't want her to think I'm, I don't care about her, the person, or her, how she feels. I had to change it. It's not how I was raised. Maribel Martinez says the mere fact that we are willing to examine ourselves means that we are in a better position to do better. When we parent from our trauma, we hurt ourselves too. If we work on healing, we will parent differently. The kids will get the best of us and not just what's left over after a long day of work, after a rough experience in the community. Yeah, this is huge. That what Maribel just said. All of that stuff that we come home with every day, work stress, family stress, relationship stress, you have to feel it because it's a part of your life. But you also have someone over here that's a sponge that's absorbing that too. So we have to be cognizant of that. Because if you come home yelling and then you have a 12 or 13-year-old that starts yelling and you like, the hell are you yelling at me for? Message. Let me see here. I want to wrap this up. Triumphant TV is saying to Tashura talks that's why I believe we should see a professional yearly. Yeah. A very underrated thought process of us just going to just talk. Like, you think about even this show, right? My little part of the universe. Just being able to type this stuff out just for you be able to listen and have a dialogue. Now, a lot of people that's on here right now is going to get off here and you're going to be thinking about this. That's the point. It's to get it out however you can. So on that note, I'm wrapping this one up, guys. I thought it was gonna be a 30-minute show. But I had to do it this way because I didn't want you just to hear it. I wanted you to feel it. I wanted you to identify with it. I wanted you to see other people in the comments that have similar stories, because whether it's romantic, whether it's parent-child, whether it's friend to friend, here's my narrative for the whole show. We all want to be attached. And if we are striving and thriving to be attached, then let's do it in a healthy, positive way where we can help each other. So, on that note, I'm gonna wrap this up. I thank you guys for coming on. This is a wrap for this one. Hopefully you guys will continue out here in this Delta, Lambda, whatever. I don't even know what it is anymore. Please be safe. Take care of yourselves. Take care of everybody. Make sure you go to the YouTube page. Relationshipgumbo.info is the website, but when you go to YouTube, make sure you subscribe and click that bell so you can get notified. Tell your friends and family about it. Go to relationshipgumbo.info. Click on everything on there. Got some stuff coming up this month that I'm working on to give you more value, online courses and things like that, so you can go and find what you want, and it's there, and I'm telling it to you just as concise as I am now, so that you can take that back, replay it as much as you want to, and it's catered to the things that you need the most. So that's one of my missions, is for you to be able to have the information on demand, even more than what you get on the podcast. Like, this was deep, but it's certain things that you really need to kind of, you got to get a little shake. So on that note, guys, make sure you take care of yourself. If you saw somebody in the comments while you were on here that said something that resonated with you, hit them up, DM them. It never hurts to find people that add value to your life, or that have shared experiences that you can talk things out with, because it happens on this show quite a bit. Even though I don't realize it's going on, people are connected with each other, and I love it. That's the whole point of this. So I'm going to get out of here, and I want you guys to be safe, and I will see you next week, same time, same place. Have a great day.
Okay, everybody wants good love, that's true, I know. Derek Jones about to break it down with the relationship gumbo. Welcome to the podcast. Ain't no doubt we all need this, cause better relationships need better ingredients, so if you want better relations, it's about communication, finding love, staying together. We all wanna make it better, yeah. Derek Jones, the host, your relationship coach. Thank you all for tuning in.